Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I am going to be giving you guys some books that you can put on your Christmas wish list. I tried to do like books from all of the genres that I read, but I am just now looking at the different stacks of the different genres and realizing that there is so much more fantasy than anything else. But I am a fantasy girly, so you know, that is why that is such a huge stack. But yeah, I'm gonna give you guys some ideas on what books you should ask for Christmas. There's a lot of popular books in here, but I also have some less popular books, and I've read all of them and I've loved all of them. Some of them are series, some of them are standalones, but I love every single book that I'm about to recommend that you guys ask for Christmas. So let's start with the romance books that I have. First we're gonna do YA romance, then we'll do adult. So first we have The Summer of Broken Rules by K.L. Walther. She has 2 books out that she's released this year that I still need to read, because I love her writing. But this is a very summer book, but it's so good, and I feel like this book is not talked about enough, and it's so, I don't know, it's very good, and I highly recommend it. And it's at Martha's Vineyard, and there's a game of assassin, and it's a really fun read, and it's very summery, and I loved it. So there's recommendation 1. Then we have, I literally never shut up about this book, but then we have Better Than the Movies by Lynn Painter. I am obsessed with this book. I think about this book literally all the time, like literally all the time. I am obsessed with this book. I cannot wait for Nothing Like the Movies to come out in the fall of next year, I think, is when it comes out. It's either the summer, yeah, I think it's the fall, which feels like it's so far away from right now. But yeah, I am obsessed with this book. I'm obsessed with Liz and Wes. I'm obsessed with this whole thing. And if you haven't read this book, like, you really, really, really need to read it because it's so good. It's so good. This is the book that got me into romance because I wasn't really a romance person. And then I read this book. This is one of the first books that I read at the beginning of the year that, like, got me back into reading more. And I'm obsessed. I'm obsessed. So even if you don't like romance that much, this book might really do it for you. Just saying. Then we have adult romance. So we have Love Theoretically by Ali Hazelwood. This book is so good, and it's got like literary fiction elements to it too, and I love it. It's so good. It's such a good book, and I like romance books that have like personal growth in them. I feel like it adds a little bit more than it just being like a romance, and this book has really good like character development in it, and I just love it, and I'm obsessed. And I need to read more Ali Hazelwood. I think there's like 3 more Ali Hazelwood books that I want to read that are out right now, and then there's like more coming out next year. There's like 3 or 4 coming out next year, and I'm like, I need to catch up. Then we have Book Lovers by Emily Henry. I read this book recently and I gave it 5 stars, and I love it, and I still think about it sometimes. I don't think about it as much as like Better Than the Movies, If We Were Villains, Powerless. Oh my goodness, I can't wait to tell you about that one. But this one is really good. It's got literary fiction elements too. And I don't know, I'm obsessed. And the character development in this book is top tier as well. Then we have People We Meet on Vacation. Again, personal development, top tier. Oh my goodness. This is second chance romance. And I don't know. I've never read second chance romance before, but I thought it wasn't gonna be my thing. And then I read this book and I loved this book. So I don't know. Maybe Emily Henry just knows how to do second chance romance or something. I don't really know. But that is all the romance recommendations that I have for you. So that's 5. I haven't read very much romance. I've like just started reading romance this year, but there's 5 recommendations for you. Then we'll do like literary fiction, historical fiction next. So this is historical fiction. This is All the Light We Cannot See by Anthony Doerr. I've talked about this book once in my mid-year tag. Also, this book is not this big. This is just the large print edition. I'll even prove it to you. Look how big those words are. This is a large print edition. I read it for school, and I actually really liked it. There is like crumbs of romance, but I'm talking like tiny little like nano pieces of romance. But it's a very good book. It's about a blind girl, and then she's French. This takes place during World War II. And then the guy is German, and he's part of like the German army and stuff. And he's really good with radios. That's all I'm really gonna say. But I think this won the Pulitzer Prize, I think is what it was. Yeah, I think that's what it was. It won it this year. And it's actually really good. And I wasn't entirely expecting to like it because it is like historical fiction, and I'm not really a history girly, but I actually really liked it. So I would recommend this. And probably don't get the large print edition because this is terrifying. Not really for me, but for other people, this is terrifying. So yeah, maybe not get the large print edition. It's like 400 pages in the regular edition, and it's like 700, almost 800 pages in the large print edition. So maybe don't get large print. Then, this book is so tiny, but then we have Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. I also read this for school. I wasn't expecting to like it because it's sci-fi, and before this, I'd only ever read 2 sci-fi books, which was Cinder and Scarlet by Marissa Meyer. And I wasn't like overly obsessed with them, so I didn't know if I was gonna like this. But I actually really liked it, and it was very good, and I highly recommend it. And I dropped it. We obviously all know this story, so I feel like I don't need to explain it to you. But I feel like something you definitely need to know going into this book is that the monster's name is not Frankenstein. That's the doctor. The doctor is Frankenstein, not the monster. Yes, we were lied to. Then this is like literary fiction, Christian fiction. Its Purpose Doesn't Pause by Hope Reagan Harris. I read this book as an ARC, and then I was like as an ebook ARC, and then I was able to get physical copies of this book, and I gave 4 of them away. I got 5 physical copies, so I kept one for myself, and then I did a giveaway with the other 4. And this book is so good, and it's helped me so much with like my personal like faith growth. And I was like really excited that I got to share this book with other people, and now I'm going to share it with even more people. So, yeah, I feel like this book is like really good. It really helped me like figure out like my purpose in life and stuff like that. So yeah, this is very good, and I highly recommend it. And I think about this book a lot too, and I really think I want to go back and annotate it, because I think that would be really helpful to like dive into more of what this book was about. So I'll probably do that, but yeah, I like really highly recommend this. So this was all the like literary fiction, historical fiction that I recommended. I do not have a lot for my fictional girlies, but you know, I'm working on reading more like literary fiction. So this is what we got so far. I've read more literary fiction than this, but these are the books that I recommend you ask for Christmas, because they're very good, and I just adore them. All right, next we're going to do mysteries and thrillers, and then some of these books have like romance subplots. So first we have A Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson. You could honestly just read A Good Girl's Guide to Murder if you didn't want to read a whole, like, 3-book series, but you could also read the whole thing. But I feel like if you're going to do it, you either read, like, just this book and not the other books, or you read, like, all the books. Because I feel like after you read book 2, you really need book 3 to, like, solidify the rest of the story and what happens to Pip and Robbie and, like, all of that stuff. But this is basically about a girl who solves a an unsolved murder case that happened in her town, and it was very good, and I loved this. I wasn't a big fan of the second half of the 3rd book because I felt like it was a little, like, crazy and just kind of, like, I don't know, thrown in there, but I also don't feel like thrown in there is the right wording. I don't know. It was just a wild ride, and I was not expecting it. But I gave this one, and then Good Girl Bad Blood, which is the second book in the series, 5 stars. So I highly recommend it still. The second half just wasn't my thing, but I feel like other people really like that. So then we have The Inheritance Games by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. This was another book that I really enjoyed. I'm obsessed with this series. Also, Grayson needs a happy ending. I haven't read The Brothers Hawthorne yet, which I found out was a completely different series than The Inheritance Games. And none of you told me that when I was talking about this series, when I was still, like, in the middle of reading it. So, appreciate that. But yeah, I really enjoyed this series, and I really loved it, and it's very good. And, like, the way that she writes these books, like, I don't know how she's releasing these so quickly, because there's so much, like, little details that go into these books that it's ridiculous, and I am obsessed. So, yeah. Alright, then we have, this one is a series, but it's interconnected standalones, so you don't have to read all 3 of them if you don't want to. But this is Tidewater Inn by Colleen Cobble. This is a mystery romance. I would say it's 50-50. But it's also, like, Christian. And this is the Hope Beach trilogy. This is part of the first Hope Beach trilogy. This is the first book. There's also Rosemary Cottage and Seagrass Pier. I read Seagrass Pier in a reading vlog, I think. Or was it Rosemary Cottage that I read? I think it was Rosemary Cottage that I read in a reading vlog, but I also read Seagrass Pier this year as well. And then I read this book, like, December of last year, I think. But I highly recommend this series. It's very good. You never expect what actually happens to happen. Like, you don't expect the ending. And it's very good. And there's a little bit of romance. And the romances are always, like, so sweet. It's just, they're adorable. And then another mystery romance by the same author is Strands of Truth by Colleen Cobble. I read this last year, I think it was last year. It was either last year or the year before that. But this was very good too, and I loved it. And yeah, the romance was really good in this one too. Like, I think I love the romance in this one more than I like the Hope. I don't know, because the third book. But what did I say that was? Seagrass Pier? There was 2 romance plot lines in that book, and one of them I had been waiting since this book to get. Because this book takes place after the Hope Beach trilogy. So ask for this first. Unless you don't want to read a trilogy and you just want to read a standalone, then you can read this by yourself. But by itself. But yeah, you get, like, their ending in this book, I guess would be the way to say, and then you get their beginning in Seagrass Pier, and it's so good, and it's, like, it's put throughout the whole trilogy, and just, I was waiting so long for that, and then I thought I wasn't gonna get it, and then I got it, so I was very happy about that. But yeah, I really recommend really any Colleen Cobble books. I've only read the Hope Beach trilogy and then Strands of Truth, but I definitely want to read more of her books, and they're so good, and I love them, and I'm obsessed. So again, this is also, like, Christian romance and mystery all tied into one thing, which is just a really great combination. So yeah. And then we have a thriller that I can never, ever, ever shut up about, because why would I? and that is If We Were Villains by ML Rio. I also have the special edition, because I'm crazy. Look at that, black sprayed edges. Oh my goodness, it's amazing. And these covers are just, they're so simple, but they're so cute, and I love them, and I'm obsessed. The one thing that I say about this book is it's Shakespeare. Like, they talk to each other in, like, Shakespeare lines, so if you don't have to read all of Shakespeare, but you have to at least have read one and have been able to, like, understand it on your own without anybody telling you this is what that means for you to actually enjoy this book, because they talk to each other in Shakespeare so much that, like, if you don't know how to understand Shakespeare's writing, you're not going to enjoy this, because you're going to be confused all the time. Like, all the time. It's ridiculous. So, this is all of the mystery thrillers. I need to read more thrillers. That's one of my goals for next year. But yeah, these are all the books that I recommend. And yeah, that's what I got for mystery and thrillers. Then we have my favorite genre. First, we have Legendborn. Haven't read Bloodmark yet. I'm waiting for it to come out in paperback because there's a little sword on the spine, and I want it to match. I want it to be, I think it's Excalibur. I think that's what it is, and I want it to match. That's the only reason I'm waiting for the paperback of this book, because I love this series, okay? It's like basically she doesn't know that she is, I don't even know what they're called. She doesn't know that her mother was a part of this secret society called Legendborn. I think her mother was a part of this. I don't know. She has the same, like, powers-ish as the kids that are accepted into this secret society at UNC. So that's Chapel Hill. And she has to join it because she sees one of, like, the monsters that they fight, and it's literally modern day King Arthur and the Round Table. I don't even know how to describe this book, but oh my goodness, all the history in this book that, like, they literally take, like real world history, Tracy Denon does, like, real world history, things that actually happened in America, and puts it into this book and adds, like, the fantasy elements to it so it fits into the story and makes it more like a just wilder narrative. And oh my goodness, it's so good. It's so good. And I don't think I ever talk about this book, but it's so good. And it's YA fantasy, and it's honestly not that difficult to understand. I would say it's beginner friendly. So, yeah. Also, if you like King Arthur, I would definitely read this. I need to read, like, the actual, like, King Arthur and the Round Table. There's, like, a specific edition at Barnes & Noble that I really want, but, like, it's $30, and I'm not doing that right now. I'm not spending $30 on one book right now. But yes, no, I highly recommend this. I can't wait for the rest of this series. I think there's going to be 3 more books in this series. So yeah, it's very good, and I highly recommend it, and I'm obsessed. Okay, next, this is also beginner friendly. This is Let the Sky Fall by Shannon Messenger. This is a trilogy. I've read all 3 books. I'm obsessed. Okay? And I've talked about this series before, but like twice, I think. This is about this kid who thinks he's a human, but really he's a windwalker. They're also called Siths. And he's just kind of thrown into that world, and they make him king because he is the last Westerly. So, yeah. And there's like 4 different winds, and so there's 4 different, like, I don't even know what they're called, but like there's easterlies, westerlies, northerlies, and southerlies, and each like windwalker has a native wind, and then there's like a specific language for each wind. Yeah, but this fantasy series is this like fantasy world building is very easy to go by because you're learning alongside Vane, who's the main character. And and it's very fun, and I love this. And these covers are really cool. That's a drawer on the cover, by the way, in case you were curious. Vane is on Let the Storm Break, and then they're both on Let the Wind Rise, which is the last book in the series. So, yeah, this is good if you want to get into fantasy, I feel like. Because it's a short series, but it's also really good, and there's enough world building where it's not, like, boring, I guess. Then we have my favorite series of all time. Still waiting on book 10, so Shannon Messenger, you're not watching this, but if you are, can you please hurry up, because I really need to know what happens. But this is Keeper of the Lost Cities by Shannon Messenger. I am in the middle of my reread of this series right now. I just finished Exile 2 days ago, and I'm filming a video of me rereading it, so that will be coming in the near future, January at the earliest, I think. But this is basically about Sophie Foster, who can read minds, but she thinks she's a human. It's kind of like same situation as Let the Sky Fall. But then she finds out that she's actually an elf, and now she has to live in this, like, new world. She has to leave her human family, because they're not her real family, and she's technically an orphan, so she has to go live with this other family that are, like, her guardians temporarily, and she gets kidnapped, and this is just kind of her journey through. This whole series is just her journey of, you know, taking down the people that kidnapped her. Can't tell you what they're called yet, because you don't find out till, like, book 4. So I can't tell you who they are. All you know is that they're her kidnappers. So that's always fun. Yeah. This is how do I describe this? Next is Shadow and Bone by Leigh Bardugo. So this is a trilogy. This is the first book in the Grishaverse, which is 3 series that's all in the same universe. And there is, like, a chronological order to them. So first you read Shadow and Bone, which is, everybody knows what this is. There's a TV show for it on Netflix, but they just canceled, by the way. And I'm very sad about that, because I need to know what happens next. Like, hello? And then they canceled the Six of Crows spinoff, too. Can you believe that? It's ridiculous. Anyways, this is about Alina, and she does not know that she is a Grisha, and then she turns out to literally be one of the most, like, powerful Grisha to have ever lived. And then she becomes, like, royalty and stuff, and this whole trilogy is just her defeating the bad guy. Can't tell you who the bad guy is either, because you think he's the good guy until, like, 50% of your way through this book. The world building is a little bit difficult to understand within the first, like, couple of chapters, but then you kind of get the hang of it. They do have, like, a different language that they sometimes say words in, and there is not a key to what it means. So that was a little difficult for me to figure out, and I've been reading fantasy for so many years. But a lot of people don't like this series because of the ending of Ruin and Rising, which is the last book in the series, but I love this series. Like, I'm obsessed. And I think it's really good, and I really like the ending, which I have talked about in a video sometime in the past. But yeah, I really like the ending. I think it fits Alina, like, who she is from, like, the very beginning. And I feel like that ending was very fitting for her character. So this is the first series you read. It's a trilogy. There's Shadow and Bone, Siege and Storm, and then Ruin and Rising. And I really love this series. So then you read listen, everybody and their mother has probably read this book already, but then you read Six of Crows. This series is about a group of kids. They go on a heist, and it's in, like, an impenetrable prison, and so that is just, like, their whole journey through that. And then you move on to King of Scars, which is characters from Six of Crows and characters from the Shadow and Bone trilogy, and it's kind of just their journey after everything that happened in Six of Crows and Shadow and Bone. And there is a lot less romance in this series, in this duology. It's a duology, because there's this one and then Rule of Wolves. There's a lot less romance in this duology than there is in Shadow and Bone or Six of Crows. So if, you're getting to the last series in this universe and you're expecting a lot of romance, do not do that, because there's not a lot of romance. Also, do not look through Rule of Wolves to see how many pages there are. You're going to spoil so much for yourself, because that's what I did. You probably saw that in my King of Scars reading vlog when I got mad at myself, because I literally spoiled 2 of the biggest plot points in the entire duology. So, and I haven't even read King of Scars yet. I'm still mad about that. Then we have The Ranger's Apprentice by John Flanagan. This is the first one. It's The Ruins of Gorlin. This is about an orphan who becomes an apprentice to one of the King's Rangers, which is like the FBI in the real world, except for they use bow and arrows because it's a fantasy world. And it's just kind of his journey through that. And then there's like a reboot series, which is Ranger's Apprentice, the Royal Ranger, which is 2 of the characters' daughter becoming a ranger, which I need to finish. It's book 4 is right there, but I need to finish that series. And then there's the prequel about the ranger who Will is his apprentice. So there's 3 different series. I haven't read the prequel yet, and I need to finish the reboot of this series. But it's very good. It's children's fantasy. But it's really good, and I really liked it, and there's not a lot of world building or anything like that, so this is very good and beginner friendly. Then we have Mark of the Raven by Morgan L. Buse. This is the first book in the Ravenwood saga. I haven't read this series in a while, but there's 3 books, and it's basically, there's different kingdoms, and each of the royal members of the different kingdoms have different powers, and the girl main character, Lady Selene, is a part of the evil kingdom. She's the heir to the evil kingdom, and then it's kind of just her journey through trying to no longer be a villain anymore. So yeah, this is also very beginner friendly. There's Christian elements to it, but it's not really that noticeable. And another highly recommended series, and this one's pretty beginner friendly too. So, and then Powerless by Lauren Roberts. I cannot stop thinking about this book for the life of me. But this book is so incredibly good. This is a trilogy. The second book, Reckless, comes out in July, and I cannot wait. And this just has the best enemies to lovers I've ever read in a book ever. Ever. And I highly recommend it, and I'm obsessed, and I think about it 24/7, and it's probably the last book I rated 5 stars. I think this is the last book that I rated 5 stars. That I've been this obsessed with. So yeah, Lauren Roberts really knows how to write enemies to lovers fantasy. That's all I'm gonna say. And it's and the slow burn is ridiculous. It's amazing, and I'm obsessed. So yeah, this is highly recommended. Highly recommended. I could not recommend this enough to you. If you haven't read this book, please go buy it right now. There's a US version that's hardcover, and there's the paperback, which is the UK. Please go read this book right now. Literally pause this video and go get this book right now. Please. I beg of you. I beg of you. The last book that I will be recommending is the Shatter Me series by Taria Mafi. Everybody knows what this series is. It's basically about this girl named Juliet who has these really insane powers where literally anybody that she touches dies. And it's just her journey through defeating the reestablishment, which is the government system that this world is currently under. It's dystopian, it's fantasy, the romance is amazing, not as good as Powerless. So yeah, I highly recommend this series. Alright, that is it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Please like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you can be notified every time I upload, which is on Mondays. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!